I'm getting money, you see me. Stack it up to the ceiling. If you're looking for me, you know just where to find me. I'm on a pod with TC, with TC. Oh, I'm on a pod.
Alright guys, thank you for joining us. Today's another day of She's Savvy, the 8-week course. We're excited to have one of the, I'm gonna call her a GOAT. She is a phenomenal woman who has been doing amazing things for years. Her resume is too lengthy to kind of dive into, but she's here to talk to us about real estate and give us some great education on, just everything involving real estate. You are a CPA?
Yes.
CPA, Pennsylvania. She does some amazing things on the state level with educating us about what's going on financially with the state. But all that being said, I want to introduce Ms. Gloria and let her take it from there.
Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here today. And I know today we're going to be talking about real estate. And we often wonder how people can build wealth if they don't have a business of sorts. And every wealthy person has real estate in their portfolio. Through real estate, you can begin to develop what is known as your portfolio of wealth, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Basically, there are 4 types of real estate. You have the residential real estate, which is the housing development. We have commercial real estate. We have industrial real estate. And then, of course, we have vacant land, which can be developed, can be made into parks, or can be used for other forms of activity. We're wanting to delve into what it is that people are looking to do as far as investing in real estate. And I'm asking that question of those individuals who are here today. What is it that you are interested in as far as real estate? Okay, we are trying to look at what the issues are now that are facing the city, that are facing folks that are looking to either invest, home ownership, or to transfer into the real estate industry. And we can offer all of that. Initially, I'll tell you a little bit about my company. My company is Regency Crest Realty. I've been in the real estate industry over 50 years, and one of the things that we have found that is happening now in the industry, that very few people are moving into the area of becoming real estate brokers, treating real estate as a profession and a career. And mainly in the north and the northeast, we're finding that we're losing home ownership. We're losing the number of people who are coming into the industry as a profession. And we're finding that we're also losing net worth. What is net worth? Net worth is what you're worth when you determine what you own and what you owe, then whatever is remaining becomes your net worth. In the Black community, we are the lowest in net worth of all of the different nationalities because we don't buy homes. I'm hoping that through the education that we've been trying to do, that we can encourage more people to look at real estate as a possible career, to purchase real estate as a way of building wealth. And remember that they're not going to build any more land. So if we don't purchase now, if we don't become a part of the land ownership, then there's a possibility that by 2053, they're saying that Black people will not have any net worth. Can I ask for some questions from the audience here?
Absolutely. So for me, based on what you just said about minorities, or you said black people. We're not set up to be able to improve our net worth because we're not buying homes. And just without deep diving into a huge history lesson, obviously I think stuff like redlining and things like that have played a factor into a lot of reasons why that is. But just off the top of your head, what would you contribute to be the main reason why that's the case?
I truly feel that the reason that we are losing home ownership, because I know with myself, growing up, my family always owned their home. And then they came out with the public housing, and that discouraged people from home ownership. And many of my friends were living in public housing, and they thought that was the way to go. And later learned that you can live your whole life in rental and in public housing, and at the end of your life, you have nothing. If you use that same, or those same funds that you would spend renting, then at the end of the time, which every purchase has an ending date, a termination date. Your term for your real estate may be 15 years, it may be 30 years, but at the end of your term, if you have paid your mortgage, you will own that property, and whatever remains now becomes a part of your net worth.
Absolutely.
I also think that education is a big issue. We're not educated about the fact that there are funds available right now. You can actually buy a home with only $1,000 out of your pocket. What is $1,000? That's a car note, or maybe one rent payment. And if you knew that you could own your home with $1,000, would you do it? Would you consider it? Because if you don't, you have to think about the fact that so many of our families don't have anything to depend on, or anything that they can say, well, my grandma died, my grandfather died, they left me a house. You can do a lot of things with that. You don't have to live in grandma's house. You don't have to like grandma's house. But grandma's house has value. And if grandma leaves you a house, then grandma has left you a legacy, and also something that you can build on. So often I see in our communities, in the black communities, is that when someone passes, there's no there's a mortgage sometimes, and sometimes there is not, but there's no will. And the will is what determines who gets what. If there is no will, then what you have is you have families arguing and nothing is being resolved. I know of a situation right now today where a gentleman died. He owned a property in the East Liberty area. It sold at the sheriff's sale. There is $225,000 sitting in the treasury that is owed to that family, but someone has to take a position. You have to open probate, and you can't depend on anyone to just tell you that's what to do. It will be taken for taxes. There were no mortgages on this property, nothing but taxes. And the value of that property, even though he may have paid very little for it, but he lived in it for 60 years, and the value has increased. So we need to start listening to people who will tell you the straight truth. I'm doing this, and I'm going around talking to different groups to say, look, let's look at what's in the treasury. There's $4 billion in our treasuries, and much of that is a result of people losing homes either to taxes or mortgage foreclosure. And let's look at getting those funds out of the treasury, and let's start building some wealth for our families. I think too that we don't think of home ownership as a way of saving or building wealth. If you purchase a home today, and especially with the way homes are increasing in value, if you do nothing more than maintain that property, in 10 years, you could have $40,000, $50,000. You couldn't save $40,000 or $50,000 in 10 years, but you can grow wealth through equity in a property by just owning and maintaining. You can also use that home, in which people don't think about. You have children, they have to go to college. And I've heard so many people saying, you know, my kids can't go to college because I can't afford to send them. But if you owned a home and you paid your mortgage, and I'm assuming that that kid's got to be 18 years old before he or she can go to college, then you've got some equity in your property, and you actually can borrow from your own property in order to allow your children to get a great education. There's so many things that we can do with real estate beyond just live in it or have a roof over our head. It's an investment. And in the investment, what we're doing is we're creating a situation where we don't have to worry about someone saying, I'm not going to loan you any money, because you don't make any money. If you have equity in your property, now you have money, you have value, and you can take equity out of your property, refinance, or even sell if that is what you choose to do. Were there any other questions that anyone had in regards to real estate, or how I can help you understand the process a little better? Yes. Okay, the question was, what happens if someone passes and there is a mortgage? No one tells you that you can sell a house that's tax delinquent, you can sell a house that is mortgage delinquent, going into foreclosure. Call me. I'll show you how to stop a foreclosure in time to sell that property. But the first thing you have to do is you have to either have a will, or you have to go to probate to be given the power to go ahead and sell the property. And we can help you with that too. So there are many things that you can do in order to secure the value or the equity in that property. Whenever someone passes, the first thing that people look at is there a mortgage? It doesn't matter whether there's a mortgage. If you sell the property, the mortgage is paid at the time that the property is sold. So that is not really an issue, but it has been an issue for many people because they let the properties go to foreclosure thinking that I don't want to take on that mortgage. You don't have to take on that mortgage. You sell that property and you take that equity out of the property. If you get in trouble with your property and you know you can't afford it, call a real estate agency that has someone that is qualified to help you through this. I have sold many properties that were starting to go into foreclosure. I've sold properties that people have abandoned and walked away. In fact, in 2008, when UPMC wanted to build the Peterson Center in the Oakland area, there were homes that people had walked away from. There were homes that people had abandoned. And I was living in Georgia at the time. And it was interesting because the neighbors called and said they couldn't get anyone to help them, and they didn't feel they were being treated fairly with the offer to purchase their home. They gave me the power of attorney, and I came from Georgia. I was living in Georgia at the time. We not only, we had offers from the buyer for as little as $40,000 on one property. I got them $108,000 on that property. The other property, they were offered $75,000 and they had 2 homes on it and a vacant lot. I got them $350,000 on that property. So there are other things you can do other than walk away, because when you walk away, you lose. Does anybody have any other questions?
I got a question. Is there a difference between houses that are foreclosed versus those that are for sheriff sale?
Okay, I'll explain that process to you. What happens when you get a foreclosure if you have a mortgage?
Okay.
You get a tax sale if you owe taxes and you don't have a mortgage. Or you can have both. But what happens in that instance? The mortgage company contacts you and they tell you that your property is delinquent. Then they send that's at 30 days, they'll notify you of that. At 60 days, they will let you know that you're in default. And after 90 days, they can then foreclose on your property. Okay, when they have reached that 90-day point, then they start what is called, they start the foreclosure proceedings and they file papers to take your property to sheriff's sale. Okay, so the sheriff's sale happens in a foreclosure with the mortgage company. Now what happens then is, let's say that you purchased your house for $150,000 and you've paid down, or you put down payment on it, and now you owe $100,000. The mortgage company goes to foreclosure. They charge you for the remaining mortgage balance. Now you got legal fees, and they can mount up quite a bit. Let's say they've got now $10,000 in legal fees and just taking it to a foreclosure. So now you owe them $100,000 for the mortgage balance, $10,000 for the fees. So you owe them $110,000. Your property goes to sheriff's sale. Somebody bids it in for what you paid for it, $150,000. The difference is $40,000, and that's your money. And people don't know that. They feel that when they go through foreclosure, they've lost their home and there's nothing else that they can do. In fact, they don't even have a forwarding address. So when your property goes to foreclosure, you get a bid on that for $150,000, you only owe $110,000. That $40,000 then sits for up to 7 years, and after 7 years, the Treasury can take your money through a process called escheat. Now, I am a principal in a company that we try to go in there and help people get that money because it's legal for the Treasury to take that after 7 years. They don't always take it after 7 years. It depends upon how much it is. If it's more, they may take it faster. But they have to wait 7 years before they can take it through escheat. And that's what happens in the foreclosure process. And I'm trying to educate people today to say, look, yes, you lost your property. Yes, it was tax delinquent, and legally the taxing agencies can take your property for taxes. But anything that's left over is your money, and you need to get it because it is yours, even though you lost your house, even though you lost your mortgage. Everybody got paid, and what's remaining is your money. So many people don't know that. And I'm here to educate. Okay. Right now there's $4 billion in our state treasuries, and some of that money could very likely be yours. And when people move out of state, they have no way to contact them, and I'm not sure they try. But so often there's monies that are left, and you have to go through a process with the state in order to be able to go in and audit the state treasuries. I've gone through that process. I'm certified, I'm registered, and we have to renew every 2 years. So I don't know how many people are involved right now in Pennsylvania, but there were only 2 of us in Western Pennsylvania that were going in and auditing the treasuries. There are so many ways you can become wealthy in real estate. And it's not always about going out and selling a property every day or going out every day showing people that don't buy. There are many areas. We do we do estate. If someone passes and they're trying to clear an estate, they have to sell the real estate. And that process is typically not real easy because now you've got someone who has passed and they have a house full of furniture. I mean, you got to clear the house. There may be a car or two that has to be brought out. And then there is the inheritance tax that we all have to go through in state Pennsylvania. And we can help you through that because we are qualified to do that. We're experienced doing that. And we sell your properties. We've had people from Pittsburgh who have gone out to California and passed. And the family, fortunately, he notified his family before he died to contact me if something should happen to him, if he should pass. And we were able to take care of that. We cleared the house. We had to do work in the house to get the house ready to sell, but it sold the first day we put it on the market because we went in and we did all the necessary things, and we were able to get that closed actually in 15 days because we got a cash buy. Yes.
You mentioned an inheritance tax. What's that?
Okay, in Allegheny County, and there, how that protocol goes. Okay, if a person passes and there is joint ownership, meaning that there is a surviving right, husband and wife, the wife automatically, if she's on the deed, on the title, that's what it is, the title, then the property automatically goes to the surviving spouse. Okay, if there are children, and it doesn't matter, now if the children are under 18 years of age, then we can work with that and you don't have to pay the inheritance tax. Now, if they're over the age of 18 and they're children, then there's a 4% inheritance tax. But now, if you're a family member, your sibling, and someone passes, you can still go through the process of selling their property. The inheritance tax is 12%. But let me also tell you, I am also a CPA and an IRS enrolled agent. So we make sure that you only pay tax on your net income from that property because there are certain expenses that people don't realize that they should be writing off, like travel and utilities and maintenance, and if there's a current mortgage, if you're paying mortgage and interest. So you really need to look at it from the standpoint of finding someone who can walk you through the whole process.
So that was my question to inheritance tax. So say if somebody was to set up a trust, and under that trust there's a will, and they also have the house up under there, and they have 3 beneficiaries, let's just say 2 daughters and a son. Let's say that person dies, the trustee dies, and now the house is left over. The house is paid off, but they still pay a mortgage. No, they still pay a mortgage. When that person passes, is there inheritance tax still that go from there, or is it none at all since they already have it in a trust? Okay,
now if it's in a trust, and it depends upon how the trust is written, because a trust never dies. It's not the person. The trust is a separate entity, and the trust should be set up in such a way that